And from the national headquarters of RT America, our nation's capital, hello again, everybody. I'm Rick Sanchez. The last time the U.S. paid much attention to Libya, it was all about this guy, right? Yeah, it's pretty horrible to look at that, but the world saw it, and it's part of realism, right? Muammar Qaddafi, viciously, publicly murdered in his own country following an intervention which many call actually an overthrow by NATO. More on that in just a little bit. But this thing garnered this response, by the way. This that you're watching garnered this response from our then Secretary of State. Listen.
So, I mean, that is the land of unconfirmed.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No, I'm sure it did.
That was 2011. The killing and the laughter was then followed by the installation of a UN-backed government where the situation has remained somewhat status quo. But now there is something big brewing in Libya, and here's what it is. Opposition forces are now seriously opposing the UN-created government. In fact, they've apparently taken over a town that is just 60 miles from the capital. They have threatened to march on the capital, and they've already started bombing Tripoli's only functioning airport. By some estimates, they may already have as much control as 70% of the country. Here is how a UN government official is now sizing up this dire situation.
Tripoli and neighboring cities were attacked by the forces of Khalifa Haftar in a failed attempt to overthrow the legitimate government. The Libyan armed forces announced the launch of the Volcano of Wrath operation to clear all Libyan cities of aggressors and of outlaws. The members of the Libyan armed forces assure their leaders and all Libyans of their readiness, ability, and determination to protect their capital and all beloved cities of Libya. They are fully ready to strike with a hand of iron all who want to tamper with the unity and security of Libya and its people.
The words of a spokesman for the UN-backed government. But what about the other side? Who is the opposition leader behind this movement, these folks who apparently are ready to march on Tripoli? Somebody, oddly enough, from right here, who we're going to be telling you about. This is an odd story in many ways. It's the news with Rick Sanchez, where we truly believe it is time to do news again. This is the list of the questions we think you'll be asking tomorrow after watching this show tonight. So is a rebel with U.S. connections about to blow up Libya? Why is the media ignoring how Jewish Americans cheered the attacks on Hispanic immigrants? And can a nation's military be accused of being a terrorist organization? All right, let's begin tonight with a man named Khalifa. That's right, a man named Khalifa, who is widely described as a CIA asset. Get this. But if he's really a CIA asset, why is this Khalifa Haftar leading the opposition against the UN and NATO-backed government of Libya that replaced Muammar Qaddafi? Seems a little curious, doesn't it? The answer to that question may need to wait as we ask the more immediate question of what will happen as Haftar's Libyan National Army advances on the capital. Here is Yulia Shapovalova with more.
Haftar's forces are trying to cut off Tripoli from other cities, with the capital being defended by forces supporting the head of the National Accord government, Faiz al-Sarraj. Several thousand fighters from Misrata, the third largest city in the country and the main stronghold of al-Sarraj, can move into Tripoli to bolster their ranks. Both sides have so far targeted each other with airstrikes, with casualty numbers varying. Several sources say at least 45 militants have been killed and scores more injured, including civilians. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has demanded the siege on Tripoli be halted. American troops have been evacuated from Libya.
The United States is deeply concerned about fighting near Tripoli. We have made clear that we oppose the military offensive by Khalifa Haftar's forces and urge the immediate halt to these military operations against the Libyan capital. A political solution is the only way to unify the country.
Moscow is also demanding the parties to the conflict sit down and negotiate without outside interference. Meanwhile, the deputy head of the Libyan government, Ali al-Qatrani, has announced his resignation and support for Haftar, noting that he didn't intend to lead the country into even greater suffering and division. The United Nations earlier called for a short ceasefire to allow civilians to be evacuated, but clashes have continued. Since the 2011 NATO-supported uprising that toppled and later killed longtime leader Muammar Qaddafi, Libya has been engulfed in chaos. Now dual powers reign in the country. The parliament elected by the people sits in the east, and the government of the National Accord, formed with the support of the United Nations and Western countries, in the west, in the capital Tripoli.
The reason for the Libyan crisis is what NATO members did to this country in 2011. Since then, it's turned into a destroyed state. Let's call a spade a spade. It's also turned into a black hole through which terrorists go south, illegal immigrants flow to the north, and illegal arms smuggling takes place.
In the meantime, the UN Security Council has held several meetings on Libya in recent days. At the latest, Russia blocked a draft resolution prepared by Washington. The US had proposed that the Libyan People's Army stop the offensive, while Moscow is pushing for all parties to lay down their weapons. Federica Mogherini, the EU diplomacy chief, is also urging a return to negotiations. Yulia, Shapovalova, RC.
I'm Rick Sanchez. You found us on YouTube, and that's awesome. But you know what? I'm also live every night at 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern on DirecTV and Dish and cable and satellite, the RT app, and Pluto TV. I'll see you there.